Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And will T-Mobile take a big loss from the recent price increases? I think right now that's a very big question across the industry. And I'm sure some of you that are following it very, very closely are asking yourselves the same. So I made a post of a poll on X. And the question was, will you be leaving T-Mobile based on the new price increases? I also saw one of those polls on Reddit. And this is a small sample size. This is 125 votes. But it kind of gives an understanding of what the consumer is thinking on this price increase. And then I'll try to link the poll on Reddit in the description so you guys can check that out. And then we'll see, of course, what the churn ends up being on Q2 and Q3. That will also give us understanding as to how this affected T-Mobile. Now, I've been speaking with a few analysts that study these numbers day in and day out, and they're telling me it's a nothing burger. It's hardly going to change T-Mobile's numbers. They might increase 1-2 basis points on churn, but that's about it. They're not going to lose millions over this, and once this settles in, most will be okay. So I gave 3 choices as answers. Yes, obvious, no, and then only this time. With only this time, what I meant, for those of you who didn't understand, is if you're only willing to take this one price increase. If they increase it again next year, you're gone. That's pretty much why I added that third choice. So as you can see, 31% said yes out of 125. That's a decent amount. 58%, the majority said no. And then 11% said yes, only this time. I'll take the price increase this time, but the next time I'm gone. I'm out. So I think that's fair. I think it's very fair. The price increase I think T-Mobile did do, I think it's fair. I'm not justifying it. No price increase is ever justified. But you got to strike a balance. We're going through inflation. T-Mobile has tried not to use the pricing lever for as long as possible. I mean, well over a decade now. And they finally pulled it. They finally pulled the pricing lever. Through all the inflation, through all the pressures on the business, they had to cut. August of last year, they had to cut a bunch of jobs. And they finally did it. They finally raised price. And they also waited, too. Keep in mind, they also waited until the network was in a much better state. Not only the mid-band capacity, but they waited until they had more scale to the network. Now, the network is, of course, not everywhere. It's still hit or miss in some parts of the country. But they waited until they were even more on par with the competition. They also waited until they got home internet customers to scale. So now if you're a T-Mobile customer that has home internet, you bundled this, you have phone financing, now you have your relationship deepened with T-Mobile, and now they slapped on this price increase. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to leave. And even if you plan on leaving, let's say 6 to 12 months from now, when your device financing is paid off, T-Mobile still gets more money out of you for the next 6 to 12 months. So regardless, for T-Mobile, it's a win-win. And then within, I would say, the next 12 to 18 months, starting today, T-Mobile's network is going to be even bigger. And they'll have made certain other moves to improve the business for the shareholders. So if that means buying more spectrum from US Cellular, then that's what that means, to enable them to grow and compete in other parts of rural America, like Wisconsin. I mean, there's several other places out there that T-Mobile yet really competes, and where they're starting to compete, they have low single-digit share, so they still have to grow and build a base. So the price increase was going to happen. You guys have heard me say it for a while. I've been preparing you. We've heard it now over and over again at the quarterly earnings. They were very straightforward. Although at that time they didn't give us any detail until now, but they were signaling a price increase was coming for some time now. The street doesn't like surprises. Analysts don't like surprises. So nobody's surprised. Everybody knew this was going to come. So now it's up to the consumer to decide with their wallets. If they're going to stick around with T-Mobile, which is the likely outcome, like I said, T-Mobile's churn last quarter was 0.86. Verizon's churn was 0.89. Verizon continued to raise price. Verizon, by perception, is perceived to be the most expensive. T-Mobile, for a decade, has been perceived to be the value leader on price, much cheaper than the competition. And the difference on churn between the two was 3 basis points. So T-Mobile said, screw it, we're going to pull the pricing lever. What can happen? We'll have the same churn as Verizon. You get what I'm saying? So the lower pricing really didn't help T-Mobile get to a churn level like AT&T. If T-Mobile would have been at a churn level of like 0.68, 0.772, whatever, they may have thought twice about pulling the pricing lever. But their churn was almost the same as the most perceived expensive carrier in the industry. So they said, screw it, we're going to raise the pricing, and we're going to make our financial situation better. And best believe they're going to take in a ton of revenue. Over time, this is going to be billions more dollars for T-Mobile. Billions more free cash flow, billions more net income. So now the pricing, the balance sheet is going to be more leveled in the future as well. Like I said, the Sprint merger was the start. It was the start of leveling the playing field on spectrum, scale and size, and now the balance sheet. If they didn't get Sprint, Verizon and AT&T would have obliterated them in the C-band auction. So that Sprint merger was needed. And then the price increase was needed for future auctions. Pricing power in the market today. That's just what it is. I'm just being honest. I'm not justifying any of it. I'm just telling you what it is. That's all I'm doing. And it's up to you, to the consumer, to decide. Like I said, at the end of the day, you have a choice. You can leave. You can go to an MVNO. You can go to AT&T and Verizon. You can try to strike a much better deal for the first year at cable. It's really up to you how you plan to go about it. But for the most part, for an example, I'm not going to leave for $2. Like my one connected device is going to increase for $2. If that makes T-Mobile happy, then so be it. I'm paying $2 more per month. Whatever, right? It's going to make T-Mobile more money if you go 2, 4, 6 between all the customers. But how many customers are really on the Go 5G plan? It's likely like 3, 4, 5%, if that. So they raised everyone's price across the board if you include the connected devices. And most people have them. T-Mobile's reps were pushed hard, very hard, to sell connected devices. Very, very hard. That was a very huge metrics for T-Mobile reps that they needed to sell. And T-Mobile knew and understood that they would raise these connected devices by $2 per connected device. They probably knew this like a year or two ago. A lot of this planning period between the corporate strategy and all that stuff that they got internally at T-Mobile, this stuff starts years ago. They knew that they would do this like years ago, like I said. So this is how it's going to be. I don't foresee T-Mobile raising price again, at least over the next 24 to 36 months. They will enjoy the continued growth of the newer plans. They will enjoy this additional revenue and net income and free cash flow and all this. I just don't see them raising it again, because that means, they are really, if they raise price one more time, they are really then going to be very, very, very close to T-Mobile. I mean, to AT&T and Verizon in pricing. So at that point, I don't anticipate that to happen until they really close the coverage gap once and for all. And I see that taking at least another 24 to 36 months. I think a huge chunk of that will be finished within the next 12 to 18 months, but they will need another 24 to 36 months to get fully on par with the competition. And that's where I could see them raising it a little bit more, but not much more. There isn't a lot of wiggle room there. If you guys saw my post on the business increases, with the new business increase, it's a 15% difference between Verizon and AT&T now and T-Mobile. So if the network is not on par, even at the 15%, people might say, screw it, and just join the competition. So that's a very, very fine line that T-Mobile is walking there with that price. And if they raise it again an inch even closer, then, you know, people will just choose the competition if the pricing is that close. So it's an interesting time in the industry. We'll see what happens. We'll see if T-Mobile raises price again in the next 24 to 36 months or sooner, perhaps. I'm speculating, but it's interesting to follow now that T-Mobile is the bigger network and getting bigger by the day. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you are new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.